Right, so let's get started. So this Discover Phonics Shed webinar is for those of you who are looking at SSP schemes for your school and you want to know the main features of Phonics Shed. So for new prospective customers, if you already have Phonics Shed and are looking for further training or how to use it more efficiently, something different would probably be more suited. So either an introduction to Phonics Shed or the Ready, Set, Go training on the EdShed website. You can also email support@edshed.com if you've got any other queries. So Phonics Shed is a full SSP scheme and it's taught phonics through lots of wonderful characters to help your children learn the letter sound links within the English language. Each character represents a GPC and comes with their own story, action and song. And these characters then pop up within the decodable reading scheme that pupils are then allocated. There's lots of lovely characters there. So what is Phonics Shed? It's a validated phonics scheme. It's narrative-based scheme based on our teaching books. And we also have our decodable reading scheme that goes alongside this. We have online tools as well, such as assessment and games and full lesson planning and resources available. So this is a snippet from one of our Phonics Shed stories that introduces the scheme to the children.
Hello, hello. My name is Joe. It is very nice to meet you. Welcome to my home, the Phonics Shed, where I keep a close eye on everyone. Today is a busy day. Are you ready? Off we go.
So the idea is that the characters are introduced through stories, and these aren't decodable by the children, but the teacher reads them, and then the characters then pop up within the children's decodable books. The scheme and progression itself are split into chapters. So if you've used letters and sounds before, similar to the phases, and they are all color coded. So it's really easy to be able to see the planning and resources for each chapter. So chapter 1 is the blue chapter, and this is pre-reading and writing skills, and it includes speaking, listening, motor skills, as well as book handling skills, and is very similar to letters and sounds phase 1. Chapter 2, which is the orange chapter, this is when the first Grapheme-Phoneme Correspondances are taught. So all those letter sound links and starting to learn those. The initial ones were single letters, as well as some digraphs such as CK and QU. And the letter names are introduced at the same time that they're learning the sounds. So this is similar to letters and sounds phase 2, but we've also moved some bits from phase 3 into our chapter 2. So things like J, V and W, so all single letters are together within our chapter 2. Chapter 3, our purple chapter, this has more complex digraphs and trigraphs. We introduce at least one grapheme for every phoneme, apart from the zh phoneme, which comes later, similar to letters and sounds phase 3. And then we have chapter 4, which is split into 3 sections. So 4A, which is a main alternate graphemes, similar to letters and sounds phase 5A, with some additional GPCs in there, like ARE, making the air sound, like in hair and dare, or EY, making E, like in Turkey. And then 4B are alternative pronunciations for known graphemes. So things like knowing that C usually makes a K sound, but sometimes makes S sound, like in princess. It also includes the final phoneme zh in here, like in decision, like letters and sounds phase 5B, with some additional GPCs. Chapter 4C is a wider range of alternate graphemes for each phoneme, with focus on reading and spelling and more complex words like letters and sounds 5C, and a bit of phase 6. Progressing to spelling and Spelling Shed 2. So you'll notice that we don't have an explicit phase 4, as these blending skills are embedded right from the beginning of the scheme. So we have them practice these skills daily. So Phonics Shed is narrative-based, and there are teaching books for each GPC. It's a multi-sensory scheme as well. So we have not only stories and the decodable books, but we also have actions, songs, and formation rhymes for each of our GPCs. And there are physical elements like our flashcards, books, and our Puppet Joe, as well as our online game and the digital side of things that children have access to, as well as the teachers. So here are some of our different multi-sensory things we have from our scheme. We've got our Puppet Joe there, and the idea is he's the custodian of the Phonics Shed garden, which is where all the characters live. We have our teaching books, the online games that you as the teacher can set, and you can lock these to specific GPC practice. And we have our animations there. And as well as our actions, we have guidance videos. So our decodable reading scheme starts from chapter 1 with wordless books right up to chapter 4B, and there are books to match each set that you're teaching within the scheme. You can access these as physical reading books, and you can also access them digitally. So you can assign them as ebooks to pupils to access on their logins. So it's up to you how you want to do that, or whether you want to mix and match a bit of both of those. Research-based phonics. So lots of research has gone into the creation of our phonics scheme, and this is just one element. So this Mesmer and Cambach research from 2022 looked at how children learn blending and segmenting skills and their strategies for doing this, which is where our sound it, squash it, say it, and say it, stretch it, sound it has come from. And really learning how to use those sounds and either squash them together or stretch them out to be able to start to learn blending rather than, say, sounding out the word like not being able to blend that word, trying to guess it, and then sometimes they might come out with a completely random word like dog, for example. So it's really trying to branch that and get the blending and teach that blending skill or encoding skill. Firm foundation. So this is a strong belief of Phonics Shed, and this is our chapter 1 skills laid out here and our different elements. So it starts off with an introduction to Phonics Shed with Joe, and then we have our environmental sounds, starting to distinguish between different sounds that we can then later apply to our phonics lessons. Motor skills, looking at fine and gross motor skills. Sounds that our bodies make, instrumental sounds in our voices, stories, rhyme and rhythm, from left to right, initial sounds, and beginning to blend and segment. And these foundations really help to build towards learning those initial sounds in chapter 2. And then on to Grapheme-Phoneme Correspondances. So we have a simple alphabetic code chart, which covers our chapter 2 and 3 GPCs, which you can see here. And then our more complex one, which also includes chapters 4A and 4B. And we stick with a really rigorous progression because, as you can see, you have the phonemes, the sounds at the top, and then all the graphemes that represent those sounds. So we really make sure that we stick to our progression because it is a lot for the children to be able to learn. Our lesson sequences are really consistent and they are the same with every single lesson, so that the children and the teacher know exactly what to expect and it becomes a bit of a routine. So we've got a few time recommendations underneath each section of the lesson here. So we start with our recap and recapping previous learning. Then go on to our introducing what we're learning today, the whole group activity and modelling what is being introduced. Then children being able to independently apply the skills that have been taught in the introduction. And then our plenary with some consolidation and assessment of the lesson. So that's the lesson structure. Within that lesson structure, there is a clear introduction structure as well. So we do C, so we show the GPC that we are learning, the sound it makes, the name of the graphemes that are representing that sound. So here we have S, and then the action that we can also use as a bit of a prompt. Within the whole group section of the lesson, we have our teaching book story, our letter formation animations, as well as our song. So everything has a really clear, rigid structure. And then within the independent activities, we have 3 different levels: simplify, expect, and extend. Our lessons are built for having whole class rather than small groups. So it's up to you whether you want to have the same independent activity for everyone in your class, or you might need to alter it. So it's completely up to your class and your setting. Then within those lessons, we also talk about best fit. So this represents the sounds when we have more than one different way to write a particular sound, and looking at where these come within words. So really starting to go from phonics to particular spellings and where these might appear to inform our spellings, particularly as they become more complex. So for example, we've got O-I here, so representing oi, and that often comes in the middle or at the beginning of the word, whereas oy often comes in the middle or at the end. And this is what our full lesson plans look like. So there are symbols for you to be able to see the structure. And this is the beginning. We've got the recap here in the introduction section of the lesson, and they're designed to be, as I previously mentioned, delivered as a whole class rather than small groups. We also have additional intervention and consolidation planning for every single lesson. So there are essentially 3 lessons for each GPC for you to use as you need. Here are some of the extra resources. So we have sound mats, also parent resources, such as what we're learning this week slips to send home, as well as things like book box labels. We also have flashcards, and we have lots of physical resources as well as them all available digitally as well. Here is a quick look at our online assessment tool, and this allows you to easily track GPCs that you are teaching. So you'll be able to see which ones they're secure on, which you may need to revisit, what interventions are needed, what they might need extra help with. And this is also available for high frequency words too. And we also have a phonics screening check simulator, which you can use to get ready for the year 1 screening check. Now, I mentioned before about the consolidation and intervention plans. We have our consolidation plans. Now, these are extra whole class lessons that are the same as the daily lessons, but have different content. So they have the same objective. So that means that if you need to repeat that lesson for any reason with a lot of children, or even with your whole class, you've got another lesson to choose from. So you don't have to repeat the same lessons. And then interventions are designed for one-to-one or small group same day interventions if they didn't get the whole class lesson or they need a bit of consolidation there. And you need minimal resources for these. They're just targeted 10-minute sessions. So if you had an extra member of staff that needed to take children into maybe a smaller room where there isn't an interactive whiteboard or anything like that, these are really ideal for that. And again, they follow the same rigid structure. So if you have a member of staff that is responsible for teaching the interventions, they quickly know what to expect. So there are digital and physical resources. You can purchase all of the physical resources if you wanted to, which is just the store part of our website. So they are physical puppets, like you can see here, the flashcards, teaching books in decodable books, or you could go fully digital and you've got access to all of those digitally and assign books to pupils via their logins, or you can do a bit of both, which most schools do, to be honest, and use a bit of both of those. So we've had some really lovely feedback from some of our Phonics Shed schools. There are just a few here. This is from Rochford Primary School. And the delivery of the scheme by our teachers were praised in the recent Ofsted inspection. They said, children in the early years learn phonics from the moment they start school. Teachers use well-established routines to help children learn new sounds carefully using repetition, rhymes and movement. And we find that the multisensory aspect of Phonics Shed means that it's quite an inclusive scheme, which is why a lot of our schools have had some excellent results. Newlands Primary School, the benefits of using one consistent scheme is clear to see. Children are engaged, enjoying the rhymes and characters, and it gives the children lots of hooks to remember the sounds by. And finally, Charford, who are quite local to us here. Screening checks show improved scores, children are becoming more confident readers, and parents are commenting on this. Programme is giving a real sense of consistency across the school, and the planning is improving teachers' subject knowledge. Data is very helpful to identify gaps and plan what consolidation or intervention is needed. If you would like to, you can head to edshed.com and take out a 30-day free trial. You don't need to enter any card details, it'll end automatically. You can, if you're going to do a school free trial, you can add other teachers. You can also add pupils, so you could trial it with a class of pupils to see if they like it and how you get on with it. You have got full access to everything on a 30-day free trial. So you can see all of the planning, all of the resources. The only limit is the time. So there's no limit in what you can see. So I really recommend doing that. You've also got different pricing. Digital access is priced per child if it's school, which is £2.10 per pupil. You could also get just a teacher subscription if you wanted to. And there are also other bundles. So the higher priced here are bundles in different parts. So part 1 is for nursery and reception, and this includes physical resources as well as all the digital pupil licenses you would need. Part 2 is for Key Stage 1. So again, this is all the physical resources and digital licenses. But alternatively, you could just do digital access and then head to our store and see which physical products you would like. If you've got any questions, please email support@edshed.com. We're all there too. We've got a lovely team downstairs willing to help if you've got any questions on how to do things. Maybe you want to set work for children on your free trial and you're not sure. Training wise, there's some free training. We've got Ready, Set, Go, which is a recorded free training available on subscription. And there's also paid for training, such as developing phonics practice using Phonics Shed from our lovely trainers who can come into schooling and deliver that. And we've also got a range of social media accounts. I recommend going to our EdShed or Phonics Shed YouTube account if you want to get a free trial and get started. There'll be lots and lots of tutorials on there about how to add teachers, how to add pupils, and just how to generally get started. That's the end. It was a real quick whistle-stop tour. Thanks so much for watching.